So now we just talked about kind of these individual decisions. And now I wanted to back up and just talk about cash flow in general and how to look at your business from a cash flow perspective. And really I'd break it up into kind of 3 sections. One is the inflows that you're getting from all of your revenue. 2, and that's coming from customers. 2 is the acquisition cost to acquire those customers, right? To directly acquire them. So this is marketing spend, Google ads, Facebook ads. And then 3 is the structural cost of your business. So you get a customer, you acquire them, they spend money, and then they kind of bounce against your organization, right? They hit your organization and it lights up like a nerve and springs to life, and certain costs aren't incurred and people spring into action as the fulfillment process initiates. So if you have the next slide, this is actually a screenshot of the product that we're working on, but it's a good analog to just think about how you should break up your inflows. Most of you probably have some type of e-commerce store set up on Shopify or Amazon, and then you potentially have an investor or you've got an influx of cash that's got cash into your bank account, and then there's any other manual or custom entries you could make. But this is kind of how you want to think about your inflows. You've got your e-commerce inflows, you've got any inflows of cash like from investments, or anything that's manual that you would enter in like from a retail or import from another source. So this next slide, right, basically takes a look at those inflows. And again, this is a product that we're developing, but you would want to create a spreadsheet like this, where essentially, and this is what you're seeing right here is the data in the table at the bottom is all of the inflows. And in the graph above, you can see the inflows and the outflows and how the cash moves. And this is for an actual client of ours that sells candles. And you can see across the, just under the inflows, I've got accrual revenue going right across the top. And I think the important point to make here is that the $254,000 I have circled for accrual revenue in February, that doesn't hit cash flow until March, right? And I have a graph that'll show you how to time things in the next couple slides. But, oh, can you go back for 1 sec? Sorry, thanks. But this just kind of shows you how cash moves from period to period. And this is Bootstrap, or sorry, one of our clients is a conglomerate, and we're working with one of their brands. And they took a look at this model and they said, holy shit, we're gonna run out of cash in November. So what are they doing right now, right? They are going out and securing a revolver, right? To make sure that they have enough to purchase the inventory, because December is a huge month for them. January is a huge month for them. So going in, they have to just load up on inventory, and they need to make sure they have enough cash to do that. So they were our first client. They kind of put their data in our system. We outputted our prototype, and it's helping them make decisions about their business. So it's really important to kind of see these things lay out. And then, so then afterwards, so we talked about inflows. Here are kind of the outflows piece, the next piece, the expected cost. This is another screenshot of just our onboarding flow. But as I mentioned in the slide before, I would think of these in 2 sections. One is customers are spending revenue. So what do I have to spend to get those customers? This is my marketing costs. And then once those customers are acquired, they interact with my organization. So what are those operating costs? So here, this gives you the opportunity to, upload automatically all of this data, right, to create a kind of sheet view. So you can go to the next slide. So here is similar to how we walked through with, you can integrate your inflows, and then you see a table-like interface where you can work with those inflows. Here are all your outflows laid out, right? So there's a lot to absorb on this page, because when you pull from QuickBooks, and you pull from all the ad networks, you're pulling a lot of data, and there's a lot of line items to deal with. So if we just kind of start at the top, you've got outflows, right? And you've got Facebook and Google. These are your costs to acquire your customers, okay? And this days until cash simply just means that when you load your Facebook credits, you pay on credit card, and you have 30 days to pay that off, right? Same with Google, right? Same way if you purchase your inventory, right? You see your inventory cost below that 30 days. And you can see this points to kind of a little cash payments chart to the right. And you can see how as your days to pay increases, the percentage of revenue that will come inflow will change and get further and further out. So you can see the power of pushing some of your payable days out and collecting on invoices a little sooner. It has a major effect on the timing of cash flow. And then it's also, if you can go back, the one last point I'll make here is the way we've broken up costs here is you've got your marketing costs on top, your inventory costs in the center, and then everything else is in these last two lines, variable and fixed costs. And it's extremely important to break, because in QuickBooks, it doesn't say, hey, this is variable, hey, this is fixed. And when I say variable, I mean that the cost varies as revenue varies. So fixed cost, if revenue doubles, you still got one accountant. You're not gonna hire another one, right? But variable costs, if you have postage, because you got to send your product out, right, that's going to increase. So you want to go and bucket. You've got inventory, you've got marketing, and then you want to go bucket all your other costs into variable or fixed, so that you can they can tell how they move as revenue moves and use those to forecast. And then if you want to know the cash impact, you've got to work in this time delay so that you can see when cash is hitting your books and if you have a shortfall. And again, these are concepts that we're putting together and thinking about a lot and getting in front of guys like people like you, and we're trying to create a solution for this so that you can create something like this in a matter of minutes by just importing your data. So the next slide. So finally, it's the biggest, most important thing to remember is that 82% of businesses, they fail just because they're mismanaging cash flow. And cash timings is both inflows and outflows, right? So it is important to do the work to build a spreadsheet, to think, here's my revenue line item, here's the timing of that inflow, here is my cost to my suppliers, here's the timing that cash is going to go out the door. And really, it's very, very important to categorize what is fixed and what is variable, so that as you forecast forward, everything's going to kind of be based on what you think your revenue is going to be. And so it's really important to categorize, to do inflows and outflows, but then categorize what's fixed and what's variable. And then the last thing is, I would say, when you're thinking about scenarios like, should I spend this marketing spend and acquiring these customers, it's important to think of the entire lifetime value. So this customer you'll engage with them right away with the initial purchase, but this person is going to stay around, and you're going to be able to interact with them, and you have their email, and that's really valuable. And it's a lot cheaper to get people to rebuy than to get people to buy for the first time. So you want to have a holistic view on kind of the lifetime revenue opportunity that exists with acquiring a customer over time.